lesson, we're taking a look at Arm's Length by Sam Fender off his new album People Watching. You can find more Sam Fender lessons linked in the playlist in the description, and my Patreon page is there too, which has some more guitar resources, but for now, let's dive into this tune. First thing that's really important to know is that this song is in D standard tuning, so we're going to tune all the strings down a tone. Now relative to that tuning, it's going to feel like we're playing in the key of C major. So let's start with the riff, which sounds like this. So to play this, you want to line your first and third fingers up on the 3rd and 5th frets of the high E, pick the 5th fret first, then pull off to the 3rd fret, then pull off to the open string. So then moving on to the B string, first finger is going to play the 3rd fret, we're going to hammer the 3rd finger down onto the 5th fret, then pick the open E, so you get the same 2 notes ringing out together, has quite a nice effect. And then while that top string's ringing out, take the 3rd finger off, pick the 1st finger on the 3rd fret, slide down to the 1st fret, and then pick that note again to finish off the riff. So the riff normally just repeats in that format, but you can hear on the 4th phrase of the riff on the record, it's slightly simplified. We don't play the 5th fret at the start, we just start with the 1st finger on the 3rd fret and pull off straight away, but then finish off on the B string in the same style. And another variation to be aware of, sometimes the riff comes back in the chorus of the song, just kind of overdubbed on top of the chords, and sometimes when he does that, he'll play the riff as normal, but rather than finishing on the C note on the B string, he finishes on an A note on the 2nd fret of the G. So you can use 2nd finger for that one. So those sound like this. Just an extra detail if you want to get really into the nitty-gritty of it. Now obviously on the record and live there's a lot of layers going on, so you tend to have a lead guitar playing the riff on its own and then a rhythm guitar playing the chords, but if you're playing the song on your own at home, you probably want to mix the two together and have this sort of effect. Just to sort of fill out the song in a solo arrangement, and to do that just play the riff as normal, and then land into a C chord. First finger's already in the right place, so just need 2nd and 3rd finger to join in. A little bit of strumming, maybe a little bit of picking out individual strings. Then do the same thing again, but then we're going to go into this really nice F major 7 sus2. Bit of a complicated name for the chord, but it's an easy chord to play. 3rd finger is going down where you'd expect in an F chord on the 3rd finger of the D string. We're going to leave the G open, and then we've got 1st finger where it already should be on 1st fret B, and then the open high E for that major 7. So F major 7 sus2. Really nice chord, and it just alternates between those 2 chords at the end of the riff. So into the C, then into the F. And then you're into the verse. For the verse we've got a couple of options. There's a strummy acoustic part which sounds like this. So for this you might want to use either an acoustic or just an electric with a clean setting, and to do this we're starting with just a normal C chord, but we're going to pop the little finger down on the 3rd fret of the top string so we get an extra G note on the very top of the chord. We're going to strum that for a bit, and then we're going to move to a similar chord to what we had before. It's just going to be an F sus2, so 3rd finger moves onto that 3rd fret of the D string, the G is open again, 1st finger is staying down on 1st fret B, and 3rd finger is staying down, little finger is staying down on 3rd fret high E. So the 1st finger and the little finger don't have to move at all. So we've got C, moving to F sus2. And strumming wise, we're just going to strum down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up in an 8th pattern, and it's nice to add a little backbeat accent on beats 2 and 4, so that would sound like this. important that you get the thumb mutant in the left hand for the strings that you don't want to hear on the bottom as well. But that gives you the first part. Now the alternative part, I'm not sure if this is really on the track or not, but you could layer it up for your own enjoyment just to sort of mimic the sound of the bass and keys, the part that they're playing. And I would basically just do some palm muted power chords. Again, just a fairly clean setting, but just following those two chords. So all just down strums, palm muted eighths on a C power chord, to an F power chord, and kind of just repeat like that. That's what I did at the demo at the start of the song, so up to you if you want to add that. If you're playing with two guitar players, it might be quite a nice combination. Then following the verse, we're into the chorus, which is where the "Do You Have to Know Me" lyrics come in. That sounds like this. Again, some pretty nice chords going on here. If we think about ending the verse on this F sus2 chord that we had, all we have to do to get into the first chord of the chorus is move the third finger to the bottom string. This is going to give us a nice G sus4. So the third finger is playing the G root note on the bottom string, it's muting the A string, then we've got the open D and G. First finger is still on the first fret of the B, which gives us the sus4 sound, little finger still on the top string. And we're just going to carry on with that eighth strumming down, up, down, up. So we've got one bar of the G, then we're going to change to an A minor 7, so thumb comes over and mutes the bottom string, then we've got the open A string, second finger on second fret D, and then still the open G, first fret and third fret on the top strings. So that's the A minor 7, we just strum that for half a bar. Then for the second half of that bar, third finger goes down on the C root note to make it a C chord. Then we move to the F sus2 that we had before for 2 full bars. So it's G sus4 for a bar, quickly changing between A minor 7 and C, then the F sus2, then we just repeat that again, so G, A minor, C, F. And as I mentioned at the start, sometimes that riff is overdubbed over the top of the F chord, and if you're doing the two guitar arrangement, you could just follow along with the chuggy power chords again, so it would be G to A, C, F. And once more, G, A, C, F. Most of the time that progression is just repeated twice for the chorus, but there is an extended chorus later on in the song, so make sure you have a listen to it and nail the structure. And finally, there's this instrumental section that comes in after some of the choruses. Now, this was the most difficult part to transcribe because of all the layers on the track, so I'm not certain that I've got it absolutely note for note, but it's pretty close. It's broken into a low part and a high part. I'm a bit more confident with the low part because it's played live, so I've managed to sort of transcribe it from the live versions, and that sounds like this. So a pretty nice guitar part. We're going to start with just a C chord. The chords are just following the C and F like in the verse, and we just let the first bar of C ring out, so the melody kind of joins in the second bar. And to do that, we're going to slide the third finger from the third fret of A up to the fifth fret. Then use the first finger to slide from third fret D to second fret. So then we're going to use second finger to play third fret A, and then pick the open A string. Then we've got this arpeggiated chord. And the best way I can describe this is to start with a full F bar chord, but unbar the top strings, so first finger's just focusing on the bottom string, and also take the little finger off, so we've got the open D string in there. And we just arpeggiate from the lowest string upwards, so low E, A string, open D string, and then the second finger playing the G string. And then the second time we skip the G and play the B, so it's low E, A, open D, B. So when you put those two picking patterns together, you get Kind of odd chord, but sounds pretty nice when you play it in the context. And that open B string is clearly there to lead back to the C. And the C chord that we're going to play is a C add 9. So again, start with a normal C, and this time we're going to pop the little finger down just on the 3rd fret of the B string. You could actually play this chord without the first finger on, but I find that it just naturally goes there anyway out of muscle memory. So I'll put those chords together. We've got this sort of F with the open strings, and then the C add 9. And that repeats again. So that's the low part. Now we'll take a look at the high part layered up. As I say, I'm not 100% on this, but it sounds pretty close when you put them together. That sounds like this. So what I'm doing here is I'm starting by sliding the 3rd finger from the 5th fret to the 7th fret on the G string. Then I'm pulling off from 2nd finger to 1st finger on 6th to 5th fret B string. And as you do that, you're going to bar the top 3 strings with the 1st finger, and then we're just going to descend into this F major 7 chord. So 1st finger's got the 5th fret on the top 3 strings, 3rd finger's going to go down on the 7th fret of the D string, and little finger is going to go down on the 8th fret of the A string. So we're just descending down that chord. So okay, and after we've descended down the chord, we're then going to arpeggiate back up it, so... And on the way up, we're going A string, D string, G string, and then the B and high E together. So... combine all that together. Okay, then for the second shape, we're going to keep the 3rd finger and 1st fingers where they are, but little finger is going to go down on the B note on the 7th fret of the top string, and we're just going to pick the D string, the G string, and then the top 2 strings together. So we're going to kind of skip the first pick if you compare it to the lower part. So what we've got is the F major 7, then this kind of A minor 9, then simply bar the top 4 strings with the 1st finger and slide little finger up to the 8th fret, strum the top 4 strings, and that gives you a C chord to resolve on. So if we put all that together, so you've heard me layer those 2 parts up in the demo. You can decide for yourself whether I got it accurate or not, and of course you can adapt it if your ears pick up some different notes. Now finally, I just want to talk about the structure of the song. So we're mainly going between the riff, the verse and the chorus. Sometimes that instrumental comes in as well, and I've mentioned about the double chorus earlier in the lesson as well. The only other thing to mention really is the outro. So in the outro, he sings kind of the hook from the chorus, but over the verse chords. So you've got to not get distracted by the fact that he's singing Do You Have to Know Me, which would normally lead you into that G chord, but actually in this case, for the end of the song, you're just sticking on the C and the F, repeat around those 2 chords, and then eventually resolve on the C. So hopefully that guides you in the right direction, gives you all the parts to play along with this tune. Hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this one. As I mentioned at the start, there's some more Sam Fender lessons linked in the description, as well as my Patreon page where you can download some more guitar resources. Be sure to subscribe for more content and give this video a like if you found it helpful, and I'll see you for another one soon.